In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a little space shooter game using Microsoft's MakeCode Arcade. I'll just give you a quick preview now of what the game's going to look like before we get started on creating it. So if I just press play here, you'll see that we are this blue ship that moves around. We are moving fairly quickly, and you can press the space bar or the A key, and you go around basically shooting the opposition that fly onto the screen. Okay, if you get hit 3 times, it is game over, as you can see there. So basically we're looking for the highest score to win this game. Okay, so that's what we're going to be creating today. So to get started there, folks, I'll get you to jump on over to the MakeCode Arcade website, just arcade.makecode.com, and we're going to make a new project by pressing the new project button there on the left. Give it a name like Space Shooter, whatever you want to call it. I should probably learn how to spell. There we go. And click on Create. And that's going to bring up our window where we can do our coding. Okay, just remember you've got your little simulator here on the left that's going to show you your game in real time. And then on the right here we've got our toolbox. And we can click on each of the drawers in the toolbox to drag code over to our coding window. Okay, so let's get started on today's game. So the first thing we're going to do is set up a background. That's the thing I like to do first in my games. Alright, so to set the background, we are going to go to the scene drawer here, and we're going to change from a background color to a background image this time. So choose set background image and click on the blank square there. And in the gallery, you've got a few different backgrounds there you can pick. I'm going to go for the one, I guess it looks like a pink moon with some craters on it that looks like that. And I'll just click on done. Okay, just give it a second or two and you'll see it appear over in your simulator window. Okay, so background's an easy one to get started with. Now something fancy we're going to do with our background in this tutorial is make it scroll across the screen to make it appear as though our plane is flying through space. Okay, and to do that we need to access one of the extension drawers from our toolbox. So I want you to click the little plus sign here with extensions, and we are going to do a search for scroll, and we'll see what comes up. You should see this extension pop up, Arcade Background Scroll. So click on that, and you'll notice down here in your toolbox that the scroller drawer has now appeared. Okay, so within that, I want you to grab the one that says Scroll Background With, and it's got the X and the Y there. Okay, just drop that underneath, and we're going to scroll it along the X-axis. That's the one that moves left to right. So as you can see at the moment, it's moving both horizontally and vertically. So we need to change this Y value here to 0 so it doesn't move anywhere along the Y-axis. And as you can see there now, it's looking pretty good. You can adjust this number for the X-axis to see how fast you want it to move across the screen. Okay, so if I drop that to minus 100, it should go double the speed you just saw. So it'll be moving a bit quicker across the screen. If you want it to go the other way, you could turn it into a positive number and it will start scrolling to the right rather than the left. Okay, so just a bit of trial and error playing around with those to see what you want. But I'm going to stick with about minus 75 for my X value in that. And that will just have the background scrolling at a nice speed from the right across to the left. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is set up a few variables in our game. Okay, variables are, I like to think of them like little buckets that will hold information inside of them, and we can dig into those buckets and pull the information out as needed. And what we're going to do, or what we're going to store inside these buckets or variables, is the score of our game, and we're also going to keep track of the lives in our game. So let's bring out this one here that says set life to 3. Drop that in. And back in info there, we're going to set the score to 0. So when our game starts, we always start with 3 lives and 0 points. You'll see across the top of your page here, you've got your 3 lives, and in the top right, you've got your score set to 0. Okay, next thing we should probably do is bring in our player sprite, which is going to be just an aeroplane. So in your sprites drawer here, we'll bring out the first one. Drop it into place here, and where it says my sprite, I want you to rename that variable to, let's call it plane. Click OK, and where it says sprite and got that little grey box, can you click on that and go to the gallery And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll eventually find these red aeroplanes. Doesn't matter which one you press, so just click on one. And up the top here in the toolbox, I want you to flip it horizontally. That's the one there, so it's just facing the other way. Click on done. So you've got a little red aeroplane there that should be sitting in the middle of your screen. One thing I forgot to show you there too, if you would like, you can change the color. You don't have to stick with a red aeroplane. So if you would like to change it to something like, let's just go for the blue one. I'm going to pick dark blue here, and I'm going to color in the orange bits dark blue. So I'm going to grab my little fill tool here, just clicking on the orange bits, and then I'm going to grab the lighter blue and click on the red bits. That's just one way you can change the color of your sprite there. Okay, that doesn't look too bad, so I might just leave it there as a blue colored aeroplane. And the kind of sprite is the player sprite. That's us controlling it in this game, so we'll leave it as a player sprite kind. Now to get the plane moving, we can go to the controller here, and we want to move the plane with buttons. Yeah, that's the one right there. So instead of my sprite, we'll choose plane, and you can now use W, A, S and D or your arrow keys on the keyboard to move it around. You can also use a little trackpad here in the simulator to move your plane around. Okay, now at the moment he can fly off the screen. I'll just show you that. So to keep him on the screen, we're going to have to put in an extra block of code. I believe it's in here in the first sprites drawer. There it is there. Set my sprite to stay in the screen. We'll just change it to the plane, and that way the plane will stay inside the screen limits. So you can try and fly out there now. It's not going to go anywhere. One last thing we might put in is just the speed that the plane moves at. Okay, he's moving at a pretty good speed now, but you can adjust how fast that plane moves. So I just want to show you how to do that. So if you do want to change it, by all means you can. So what am I looking for here? It's probably going to be up here in the sprites. Looking for the move option. I don't think it is in there. It might be in controller here. Oh yeah, there it is. So it's the code we brought out before. Moving my sprite with buttons actually, so we don't need to bring in some code. I made a mistake there. What we need to do is press this plus sign here to expand on move plane with buttons, and this just sets the speed. So at the moment it's moving at 100 pixels per second, both on the X and the Y axis when we press the arrow keys. Okay, let's turn that up to say 200 pixels per second. So it's going to do double the speed now. Let's test this out. So let's press play over here. You can see now the plane is moving very fast around the screen when I press my arrow keys. Probably a little bit too fast, so I might just drop it to 150 pixels per second is how quickly our plane is going to move now. So just a little bit quicker than before. I don't mind that. So we're off to a pretty good start. Got the scrolling background working. We've got our player moving around the screen nicely. Okay, so let's get into the next part of the coding. Alright, so the next part that we're going to do is make our player shoot some bullets. Okay, when we press the space bar or this little A button on the simulator here, we want to have bullets come out of our aeroplane there. So we're going to go to our controller drawer here and bring out the second block of code that says on A button pressed. So basically when we press that A button or the space bar, what do we want to happen? So in our sprites drawer here, if we scroll down a bit, you're going to see this option to set projectile to. We're going to go to the first one there and drop it inside of there. It says set projectile to projectile, and from here we are going to find something that resembles a bullet. Okay, there's not much in here that really does look like a bullet. Whoops, definitely don't want that one. We'll scroll down and see what we can find. I'm going to go with one of these things here. So you go the straight flat one, or you go that little one over there. I'll go that one just there. Click on done. So we're setting that projectile from the plane. So it's going to come straight out of the center of the plane, and it's going to move along the x-axis at about a speed of 200 pixels per second. Okay, we don't want it to move up the y-axis at all. We want it to go straight across horizontally, so make sure you set that y value to 0. Okay, so that should get that working. Let's just give it a test run in the simulator. Press the space bar or press the A key and you can see the bullet coming out. Probably a little bit big there, the bullet. We can make it smaller, but we'll leave that for another time. Another thing I want to happen when we shoot the bullet is to play a little sound. Okay, so in the music section here, we'll grab this one here that says play, and it's got the sound wave coming in there after it. Click on that and go to the gallery, and I think we might... Yeah, we'll do the laser one. So let's click on that first one and just close that off. And instead of saying until done, actually we'll leave it as until done, but I want you to press this plus sign. Okay, and we might shorten the duration from 300 there to 100, so it's a very quick sound. The frequencies are fine, so leave them as they are. So we'll just test that out. Let's stop it and start it and make sure that's working. Okay, it is very quiet on my computer, but it is working. Okay, hopefully you can hear it on yours. I was just a bit worried there the sound wasn't working, but it just turns out the volume was very quiet on my computer. Okay, so plane looks good. I don't think there's much more we need to do to that for the time being. It's time to bring some enemies in. So I'm just going to scroll down the page here, and I'm going to go to the game drawer here, and I'm going to bring the second option out, and it says on game update every 500 milliseconds. We're going to change that to every 1 second. Every 1 second we're going to have an enemy appear on the screen. Okay, so we are going to set my sprite to, and we're going to change the name of that. Now we can't use enemy, that's already a keyword used in MakeCode, so I might just call it a hostile. Okay, so we're going to set the hostile to. We need to pick the sprite that we're going to use for our hostile or our enemy for the game. What I might do, just to keep things simple, is use the same plane, change the color of it. Let's get some green, I reckon. I'll get the fill tool there and color all the red bits in green. Might get the yellow. Do those orange bits in yellow. It probably looks alright when it's small. Yeah, that'll be okay. So let's just roll with that. And it's going to be an enemy kind. Okay, it's no longer the player. This is the enemy ship. So make sure you've got enemy selected as the type of sprite. Okay. Now what that has done, if we just look at the simulator there, has put the enemy right in the center of the page there. What we might do is get it moving from the right hand side of the page and move across horizontally to the left. We'll make it look like it's flying across the screen straight at us. Okay, so the way we do that is come across to our sprites here, and we're going to set my sprite velocity and just change that to the hostile sprite. And we're going to set the velocity to -100 along the x-axis. So it's going to move from right to left across the screen at 100 pixels per second. 0 for the y value. We don't want it to float up or down. Okay, just go straight across the screen. Let's have a squeeze at that so you can see there at the moment it's coming straight out of the center of our page, which is not exactly what we want. So we need to set its position next of all. So it's just coming in down here in the sprites drawer again. We're going to set the hostile sprite to position, we'll say 160 on the x-axis. Okay, that'll put it right on the edge of the page here, so it starts right on the very right hand side of the page. And for the y-axis, the one that runs up and down, we want it to appear randomly along that y-axis. So what we might do is go to the math drawer and grab out pick random. Okay, and drop that into the Y section and just have from 0, actually might make it 5 so it doesn't appear out of the screen. 5 to 115 is what I'm looking for. Okay, so now we should get that plane appearing at random locations from the right side of the screen every 1 second. Okay, as you can see we can crash into the enemies, no dramas. That's not an issue at all at the minute, so we need to code that in shortly. One last thing we'll put in for now. It's not going to affect it in any way at the minute, but it will come in handy a little bit later on. It's a destroy option here. So There it is. So we're going to set the hostile to auto destroy. Here it is. So underneath I want you to set the hostile to auto destroy on. Okay, that's going to come in handy shortly when we either collide with it or we shoot it with a bullet. Okay, so let's have a look at that now. So I'm going to go to a new block of code. And this one is going to be in the sprites again towards the bottom. It's going to be this overlap one here. So remember from our previous videos, overlaps are when we have a collision between objects on our screen. So in this case, we're going to have a collision event between the sprite player, and when it overlaps or collides with another sprite that's the kind enemy. What do we want it to do exactly? Okay, so basically we just want to destroy the enemy. So we need to go to our sprites up here and look for the destroy option. Okay, it comes up with destroy my sprite. We need to get rid of my sprite and bring in this other sprite. So just duplicate that little red block by right clicking on it, selecting duplicate, and just put in destroy other sprite. So whichever sprite you crash into, it's going to disappear off the page. Not only that, we're going to go to the info here and we're going to take a life off our lives. So we've got the three little hearts at the top. We can now lose a life if we have a collision with the opposition. You probably see that there. And when you lose all three lives, obviously it's game over. Now when we do have a collision, we might play a sound as well. So in the music here, we'll play this sound in the background. We won't do ba-ding sound. What we'll do is look for the one that says zapped. There it is. Okay, so when you have a collision with the opposition there, you'll hear a sound. Probably can't hear that too well through my computer, but it's definitely working. And the last thing we might do is we might get our player to have a little bit of a shake as well when they collide with the opposition, just to show that like a crash has occurred. So in the scene option here, what we can do is we can look for a camera shake effect. Here it is. Camera shake by 4 pixels for 500 milliseconds. Just drag that straight out and drop it in the bottom there. And have a watch now in the simulator. You'll see when I have a collision with the opposition, my plane shakes. Okay, for 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. Alright, so I reckon that we've got those collision events looking pretty good. What are we going to do now? We might put in another collision event, this time between the player's bullet and the opposition. What do we want to happen when we collide, or when our enemies collide with a bullet? So bring out the same block of code as before, the on sprite of kind. Oops, let's stop that. We're not going to do the player sprite this time, we're doing the projectile. Okay, so when our projectile or our bullet overlaps with the other sprite of kind enemy. So basically when our bullet hits the enemy, what do we want to happen? So again, we're going to destroy the other sprite. So not my sprite, get rid of that. Duplicate this little red one that says other sprite and then press the plus sign. Okay, you can actually put an effect onto your collision event here. So when the bullet does blow up the other ship, let's change the effect to a fire effect. And we'll make it last for, a very quick one, 50 milliseconds. Okay, let's have a quick look at that. We'll see if we can shoot the opposition and get a fire effect. Okay, hopefully you can see that little bit of fire effect appear across the screen. I'm just going to stop that there. What I noticed then as well is one other thing I might do, I'll fix it in a minute. But basically when our bullet hits the opposition, it just keeps floating through the air and going to clean up a second opponent on the screen in one go. So I don't want that to happen. What I want to happen is when the bullet hits the opposition, I want that bullet to disappear as well as the player. Okay, so we've destroyed the other sprite with fire. That's all good. I'm going to go back to the sprites drawer here and bring out another one of those destroys. And instead of destroying my sprite, just destroy the projectile. Okay, that should destroy the bullet on the screen. Let's just get that a quick test run to make sure that works. Yeah, that's working nicely. So I'll stop that. That looks good. We might play a little sound as well. So let's bring in the sounds in the background, and we'll do the pew pew sound. And we'll change our score as well by 1. So we get 1 point each time we hit the opposition with our bullets. So there's a bit happening there. Just go through it step by step though, and it should make sense. Okay, so when our projectile or our bullet overlaps or collides with the enemy, we're going to destroy the enemy and put a little fire effect on it. We're going to destroy the bullet as well, or the projectile, so it doesn't keep running through the screen killing other ships. We're going to play a little sound. It's like a little collision between the two. And we're going to also get 1 point for destroying the enemy. Let's have a look. Sounds good. You can hear the sound. Working well. Okay, so we're nearly done now. We're definitely getting down towards the back end of the program. I think the last thing we're going to do is just what happens when it is game over. So in the info section here, we should have a section in the lives that says on life 0. So when we run out of lives, those little hearts at the top of the screen, what do we want to happen? First thing I'm going to do is another destroy option. Here it is here. I'm going to change it from my sprite to the plane. So we're going to kill the player sprite off. And if we press this little plus sign, we might do a fire effect again for 50 milliseconds as well. So our player sprite will blow up basically when it is game over and you've got no lives left. We'll play a bit of music. We'll play a sound, I think it is. Do the second one there, the wah, 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 when you finish, and we're just going to loop that in the background. And over here, we're going to do game over and put it as a lose. Okay, so a little game over screen that appears is going to have like a losing theme to it rather than a winning kind of theme. And that should be about it. I'll just double check my code here in front of me. I'm just going through it now to make sure we've got everything. Looks like we do, so let's test it and we'll see if we've got a completed game. Okay, so we'll press play. Oops. Should be able to go around shooting all those planes quite easily. And if you get hit by 3 of them, I heard the sad music, we got the game over, score of 6. That's looking pretty good to me. So there you have it, folks. You've got a space shooter game all done and dusted there in MakeCode Arcade. I was just plugging in my little GameGo device. I'm going to send my code across to it now, and then I'll see if it works. So I'm just going to download it to the GameGo device. Okay, that's doing that just now. I can hear my game playing in the background. I'll unplug this device once it's set across, and I will show you what that looks like. Whoops, just refresh the page when I shouldn't have. Okay, I'll bring it up to full screen. I'll just play it again. Basically, there's the game. A bit bright there, I know, with my light on, but hopefully you can hear it, you can kind of see it, but it is working fine there on my little GameGo device. I can move around, I can shoot. It does look quite good. So if you have got a little device to play your game on, by all means download it onto it now. But that's us done. Feel free to go through and add whatever you like to this. You could add in harder enemy ships. You could have a time limit on there. You might restrict how many bullets come out at a certain time. There's lots of different ways that you can enhance this game. So that will do us for today. I will catch you guys in the next video tutorial.